fellow traders and Volland subs. Let's jump right into it for another weekly overview of the ES and SPX. So for those of you who are unaware, we are in the Volland Discord. You can find our full weekly plans, and then we also provide daily plans. So if you want to trade more intraday, we also provide specific bullish and bearish bias with targets of when to enter and when to target or exit. So all of those are provided to you live within the Volland Discord. Let's just go ahead and jump right into this week's overview. So the first thing I just wanted to kind of outline is momentum, right? If you've noticed, obviously, we go look at our charts here for just a second. Between the ES and SPX for essentially 2 weeks, we've just been consolidating in this massive zone. It's the same thing here in the SPX. You could almost just say it's a barcode pattern that is occurring with the lows here and the highs here, right? So with that said, there's not a lot of momentum. We are hitting key levels, and then we have failed breakouts of them and pushing price back down. So the theme of a weekly swing does not change, right? If anything, on a weekly swing, you're going to want to find some of these lows, for example, here, and then some of these highs, and maybe that becomes your swing. So it's almost become almost an intraday or daily play to take, the ride up and then flip and then go short and go back long. So if you try to swing from here, you made profits here, but if you didn't take it, you just got decayed in time and then in price, right? So you're massively negative from the point of entry here. And then you went back up, maybe gained. So there's a decay factor here is what I'm trying to state if you're trading options. All right, so where is the strength? So obviously, as I shared in the plan, I like to overlay, if you take QQQ, and just in your ticker QQQ/SPY, you can obviously see that any strength in the SPY is not coming from tech. We have had this year-long channel we've been trading within, and we've broken out of that once, came down, found support, tried to break back into it, rejected, back down below now. This is now, I wouldn't say the end of the world, or it is bearish. We are below key moving averages, or we're below the 50, the 20. So these are not things to bat about. So obviously there's that aspect of it. We are below this channel, as I said, and yes, we poked below it a couple of times now. We ultimately want to see if we're going to consolidate here and push back up, or we're going to find another leg down to test these lows over here. So this is something that I am keeping an eye out for. Additionally, if we then just go to the RSP, right, the equal weight ETF, it is making new highs, and multi-year trend, multi-year breakouts, right? So we had kind of consolidated up here, broke out of it, consolidated here, broke out of it. So we continue to be bullish on the RSP. And if you now do the same thing, the RSP over the SPY, it is a much different story, right? We're still kind of in this downtrend here, so watch it to break out. Its moving averages are flipped above price, so that is positive. We have some momentum, and we have support here from key institutions and things of that nature. And as I said, there are just, even within the defense sectors or types of tickers, you got to find which ones are making the moves, like your cable companies of the world, Charters and Verizons and such, and telephone companies might not be doing as hot. But if you take a look at ITA here, for example, again, look at that. You're holding a key moving average, you're above, another key moving average, 20 as well, and you keep riding up. So like this is, if you want to ride momentum, this is one you can swing and take time. And here's another example of firm, right? Found its bottom here around August 5th, just like everything else, but its strength has been, it's had more strength than the SPY or some of these other tickers, right? You can see it broke one key multi-year downtrend. We are broken another downtrend here. If I simply just, take this and do one of these, you can see here it gapped right above that, right? So ideally, if you enter, obviously look at Volland and where some support levels or resistance levels are to trade this. But maybe we missed the boat here for a retest of this trend line. But there is strength, there is momentum, is what I'm showing you here. But you're not going to find them in tickers like, if you look at JPM here, channel, breakout, gone, right? So these are the types of tickers you want to find momentum in. But now if we, if I hop in here to NVIDIA, where is the momentum, right? Let me take down my drawings here. Where is the momentum? We had a downtrend, we have a support line, we kind of consolidated, pushed down. So where's this going? It's below, some key moving averages. The 20 is still holding it here. So is this we're just going to chop here between 20 and the 50? Who knows, right? But you can see that the picture is not as clear as NVIDIA, including when you go look at its Volland data. So this is not a swing trade. You want to wait for that opportunity. Is it down over here at 106 potentially, some of those key levels? So it's a wait and see approach with NVIDIA. Now, can you trade it on a daily? Can you trade it for a few points in a day? Of course. But again, knowing what you can swing, what has momentum behind it, etc. These are important things to kind of keep in sight. All right, so with that, let us hop into Volland and look at some of the SPX kind of key levels. So obviously, if we look at our all expiry, all vanna, I mean, the picture is just not really clear here, right? You've got, a bunch of positive vanna here as magnets, some small vanna, and then as you start to go up in price, then you get to, the big magnet here at 5,700, even here at 5,690. But then to the downside, the big one is 5,550, which continues to be defended by these smaller clusters of negative vanna here. So now if we jump into the weekly view, which is this chart right here, so let's just kind of zoom in on that. All right, there we go. So if you take a look at that, obviously for the first area of support is going to be kind of this cluster right here, right, and even to here. So do we find support somewhere within here? This is where we'll kind of use our intraday daily plans to find support, right, and pivot. So first of all, these two areas will be support, come Monday overnight here in the next hour and a half when we open. Or a better area of support and pivot will be this. You go down below and we hold 56.15. Yeah, we're going to most likely target 5,600 then and find support maybe here. So that's how that will go. And then to the upside, we, obviously 56.70 and 75, like this is, to me, is the pivot on the week. Like, yeah, we can push up, hit this, we might then retrace back, but ultimately the pivot here to get to this 5,700, 56.90, call it, right? We gotta break above and hold this 56.75. So you can kind of see we do have magnets here. These magnets, as if you're following my trade plans, they become pivots. So just because they're a magnet doesn't mean then we just push from one magnet to the next, right? These flip red to negative. So if we don't stay above 56.75, aka the pivot, there's no way we're getting to 56.90 or even 5,700 for that matter. So we could push, let's say we break this, we hit this, and then we reject it, then yeah, price could, if we hit this and come back to test this for support, and if we don't hold it, then yeah, price could retreat all the way back down this way. So that's what I mean kind of in terms of swings. Like, you have to be careful as we hit some of these key levels on the week And as the data updates, obviously pay attention, right? We might, hold this, flip it, turn it red, and we're above price, and then like we flip this one, and then all of a sudden we're at 57.10, just like that. So keep an eye for the updated data. Tuesday's data, if you take a look here, we've got a little bit of resistance, not massive, but we get some volatility to decrease. We should push down, and kind of that first test is again going to be 75.80 here. So 70 to 80, this zone. So this is an important zone on the week. If I'm going up, I'm wanting to pay attention to see how price reacts, and this data changes as well. And then obviously to the downside, like I said, big pivot areas, right? This 5,600 to 56.25, 30 area is a big one for the bulls to defend this week to continue to push up. Ideally, do we find support before that, higher up? That's to be determined, and we will see. A lot of data on the week, which we'll get to here in a second. But then if you look at even 2 weeks out, right, similar story. We do have some support here, some massive support. We do have some big green bars that are attracting price as magnets, so keep an eye out for them. We then also look at a cumulative vanna. We notice for Monday, price is supportive here until 56.30. Now, if it breaks, we're going to go into selling and kind of see, 56.30 will hit 25, and you find, no support until 5600, and then same thing, same story. We'll break below that. Now, to the upside, obviously, we hold above 56.30. We can get to 56.70. In price here, potentially up to 75 then, which was again above a key pivot level we discussed. So there's that. So those are some key vanna levels. If you look at the vanna trend, obviously we want this to continue to go up higher to be supportive of the market. More vanna is better. So you can kind of see here for the majority of the entire year, we've had a lot more vanna, which has been supportive of the market, less volatile, these ups and downs. We've had fewer of them in the first half of the year than we've had the second half of the year, and that's because of, look at all of this aggregate vanna that has been removed from the market. So ideally, you want to continue to see this grow. If this is the peak, it just goes to show you that yes, we could still push up, but the vanna will not be as supportive, and we could fall at any point in time, which is further displayed kind of here in this chart, right, in our cumulative, where you don't really start to see support until kind of, this zone here, the 5200 to 5180 zone in the SPX. So keep an eye out for it. This is a little bit bigger picture. You'll see our vanna heat map as well. Find, the red, for example, strikes with value that have lessened and what expiry. So things of that nature is that. So that is our Volland data there. Now let's jump back here. Let's start to take a look at some of our weekly levels. So I've already gone ahead and marked these, so you can kind of notice, these dotted white lines are our value area highs and lows. Anything that doesn't extend here means it's been breached. So for example, this point of contact from August 12th, the week of August 12th, was naked or had not been breached until we came and tested it on Wednesday overnight after the NVIDIA earnings. That point of control held, and then boom, price started to float back up to the back where the weekly value area low was. So here, which was here for last week, it's point of control here. So you can kind of see the rotation and how price becomes a magnet even on volume profiles. So if we start to lay that out for this week, let's take a look at that. So first and foremost, our weekly closes. So put those in. I like to just mark those so I know whether we're inside the week. So if we are inside of these blue lines, expect choppiness. Make sure your entries are perfect, dead on. Otherwise, you're just going to decay and price might flop up and down constantly. So that's where I like to take a look at that. Those blue lines there for, are we above last week's price value and discovering new value, or are we still within the range of last week's price? So again, within here, it's choppy. We break to one of these, extreme sides of the week, we're gonna then start to see some moves, unless there's some vanna or key levels, obviously. So that's that, the weekly closes and highs and lows. All right, then we have our weekly expected move. So this is the options weekly move, what the options money market makers are expecting price to do. So on the upper range we have here, let's take a look at the SPX first. So on the SPX, we got 55.72, and to the upper range, 57.24. Last week, if you had these marked, if you noticed, the low was literally right at the lows of the week. So we hit the options expected move and then bounced right off of it. So here I have them marked on ES as well. I will mark both charts if you have not noticed that, so just FYI. And then last but not least, let's jump right now into the volume profile. So on the SPX here, you can clearly see our value area high was at 56.26. Our pocket value, our point of control and value area low, very near each other. Actually, let me pop this down. Right there, actually. So you can kind of see 55.92, 55.90. That is a key area of interest if it were to trade down there. Similarly, if we pop our ES values, same thing here as well. So 56.12 is the value area, but you notice the point of control is a lot higher than in SPX. So this is why I chart both of them. ES is a lot more accurate, but I'm always intrigued when I find differences like this. So if you lay that down, you'll see 56.37 is the point of control, and then the value area high here is 56.49. So you can clearly see here, if we don't want to have any retracement or any flip-flopping and chopping, next week, we need to stay clearly above 56.50. We want to just not enter back into here, because otherwise we will find ourselves back into choppiness and consolidation like we have here for the past 2 weeks. So there's that. And then obviously if I wanted to, since the SPX values are so different, I can come in and pop those right into here, and you now have the SPX weekly values. So I'm going to turn those off. And then last but not least, those vanna levels, I'll turn these off just so you can see them for just a minute. There are key vanna levels so far on the week, and obviously throughout the week I will adjust these as the data comes in and updates itself, but so far here is what we are looking at. So when I turn this on the SPX, you can now clearly see when we have our volume profile, our weekly expected move, and our weekly close, what are some areas of interest. Obviously this 56.50, let me zoom in here. Essentially this zone right here is a major area of interest, this zone right here. Do we hold it as support, and do we find an opportunity then to ride up if we test it? So that is one thing to keep an eye out for. The other thing is then if we do not hold 56.38, it's like last week, right? We will then find price go all the way down here. So this is in terms of shorts, right? If we test, let's say here, fail it, and there's a good chance we go here and then fail this. So you can see target 1 comes here, and then if we break that, target 2 comes down here then. So that's how you can trade these as failed breakdowns. Until I see the trend clearly and the data start to show bears are back in control or interested in some of these key levels, then I would consider swinging puts. But this time for me, puts are scalps. They're failed breakdown or breakouts, for example, that I want to target if I'm doing any puts. All right, so that is our charts. Our vanna levels. So again, as a quick recap, I would say from a zone perspective, right, I am very intrigued in what price does here. So this is the first zone. And then I am very interested then if price goes below that, what does price do here? So these are, think of them as your resistance and your support levels on the week in a nutshell. All right, let me take those drawings off. Let's go back to our trade plan, just make sure I've covered everything. So some interesting stats here or reads, what happens when there's a 5% summer, what happens after that summer. So clearly here what Wayne Whaley has outlined here in his data study is that in September we continue to push up, after a 5% summer up. So 13 wins, 10 losses or down, 13 up, 10 down. Average change is about a quarter. The median change about 0.41. You can see October gets very, very bearish. Then we start to get that Santa rally going into November and December then. Almanac Trader has a great one here on the after Labor Day holiday. Typically it is a bearish one and then Wednesday flips into a bullish one. So something just to keep in mind. Obviously, I don't take these as purely trade speculative data points. I will use them as a data point and lean them against my bias based on how Volland the volume profiles to look at. Lots of news this week, lots of data. The biggest ones, obviously Tuesday we've got some ISM data coming out, so keep in touch there. We have JOLTS job openings, so we want to see an increase in jobs now. Remember, bad news is bad news, good news is good news again. Thursday we have more jobs data, non-farm employment change, unemployment claims. We have PMI as well, services, and Friday is non-farm employment change in the unemployment rate and the average hourly earnings with a couple of FOMC members. Walk through all of our key levels. Again, on the week, what I'm really interested in doing is finding failed breakdowns, right? Especially at a couple of those key targets I told you on ES 5615, 5605. If we find ourselves trading down there, I would take a long. And if we hold early in the week, 5640 even, or for some reason, let's say in futures trading here in about an hour or so, we just push up, right? We don't even retrace. I want to go long. For full disclosure, I am long from Friday. I entered long. I saw that breakout at 5600 on the SPX and took it. So I am long from Friday. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I close it if I see any weakness and then wait for a key level to trade. That's it for me. Again, don't forget, we are in the Volland Discord. You can go to the Volland website. Again, just type in vol.land. And to join, you can go into the subscription info. Obviously, I would recommend at least the Volland 30, if not the Vol Live. And when you do decide to purchase one of those, you can enter Dark Matter 10 and receive 10% off your first month. So at least for your first month, you can test out and see how we do. I can tell you, if I don't have a ticker in Volland, I just don't trade it. It is my conviction. It helps me assert my trades and to take them. All right, that is it. Thank you again for sticking with us, and good luck with your trading this week, and we will see you in the Discord.